Being a teacher, you get paid, you don't get paid.
Yes.
So I remember coming into the Rebbe, presenting him, you understand, with this business proposition. The Rebbe smiles, and he says, "Das ist punktem Heppach, was du schreibst mir jeden Chodesh." I used to write the Rebbe Aduch every single month, so right away I knew that my tafkid bo'ilom was not in business. And I spent 61 years as a machalach.
Welcome to Homesick for Lubavitch, a podcast where we explore Lubavitch identity in the year 2025. My name is Bosi Lgani, and I will be your host. Let's begin. Alrighty, we are here in Cleveland, running a few minutes late, but very much on time, with a fellow who has already put me in my place, which is how it should be.
How do I put you up?
You told me to stop daring you a cup about the water.
All right.
So, I always could use a little bit more of that. Rabbi Fishman, do we want to share your first name?
My name is Chaim Zusia Fishman.
Rabbi Chaim Zusia Fishman, and a dear friend of a bunch of my friends, and it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time.
Thank you very much.
Today. So I think before we start, just to all those who are listening and appreciate this podcast, please like and subscribe on all the platforms. And if you'd like to help support the podcast and help it grow, please visit hflpodcast.com/donate. Anyways, Rabbi Fishman, why don't we begin all the way from the beginning? To tell us a little bit where you grew up and how the story begins.
I was born on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Tov Reish Tzadik Test, 1939, in Providence, Rhode Island. And my parents and my Zeidy and Bobby, we all lived in the same house. And it was a house where we saw real chesed 24/7. And in those years, if you lived in Orei HaSodeh outside of New York, a Chinuch al pi taharas hakodesh, education according to the way it was supposed to be, was something unheard of altogether.
How did your parents end up in Rhode Island?
Because they came there.
So, but they were from
Yeah, they came there. And when I was 5 years old, I had to go to public school.
Right.
And I remember I came home, and it was, you understand, during Kratzmach, and I told my mother that all the children of the class were bringing presents, you understand, to the teacher. And it wouldn't look very, very nice if I did bring a present. And my mother bought me a present. But it bothered my mother very, very much, because I was born late and many years after my parents were married. So my mother went, at that time, in South Providence, there lived a Rebbe by the name of Rabbi Yeshua Werner. And she said, I waited so long for a child, and this is what's going to be his education. So he started a yeshiva in South Providence, I remember on Chestnut Street, and the students at that time were Moshe Werner, Simcha Bina Werner, and Miriam Werner, and there were the Maber girls, and the Kaufman and the Maxes, and that's how we started the yeshiva. And in 1946...
Is this the same Simcha Bunim Werner who lives in
Yes,
Muncie?
yes,
The
the
Mashpia
one
in
in Muncie, yeah.
Oh, wow. He was my Mashpia in Mesivta.
Anyway,
Small world.
so in 1946, the Frierdiker Rebbe sent Yitzchak Groner, Yossel Goldstein, and Rabbi Green to start yeshivos Achei Temim in Lubavitch. And Rabbi Yeshua Werner had a brother in the North End where we lived, who was the Rebbe of the Bnei Shul, and he gave over the Talmud Torah building as part of the yeshiva. Yitzchak Groner was single at that time. Yossel Goldstein was single. And Yossel Goldstein is a Providence boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I remember when my Zeidy brought me to the yeshiva, and they brought me to his class, and my Zeidy get a cook of Yossel Goldstein. He took a look at him. Sagte, Yossel Goldstein? Oi, he took to my Zeidy, Salmon! They had lived in Providence, you understand, in our houses, you understand, that we had. And that was, you understand, the first yeshiva experience that I had. And they started off the yeshiva at that time with 75 students.
Wow.
A year later, the Frierdiker Rebbe sent the Vera Kanakov to teach the girls. They say that the reason that the Frierdiker Rebbe sent the Vera Kanakov to teach the girls, so we gaan een shidduch zwischen ihr mit Yitzchak Groner. And I remember, you understand, Yitzchak Groner's word in the Bnei Shul in Providence, Rhode Island.
Wow.
And, you know, at that time, you know, kids came home, you understand, versteht ihr, and, you know, wegen Frumkeit and so forth and so on. And the yeshiva was there from 46, 47.
Can you describe Yitzchak David Groner back in the day? I remember him many years later.
Yitzchak Groner was the same Yitzchak Groner, you understand, tall, you know, a feierdiker. And I remember him well. And Yossel Goldstein had noch gehad Pritschkes auf dem Pony, you know, Pritschkes Haar. What do you call it when acne. But, I mean, Yitzchak Groner hadn't changed. You know, stop, place, you know, an orator, v'chulu.
A chazan.
There wasn't a chazan. I mean, you didn't know no chazan at that time. But anyway, the kids came home, you understand, making chumkeit, v'chulu. And evidently there were certain balabatim there which were not so inclined, you understand, to this type of approach. So the yeshiva Achei Temim started there 46 and 47, and in 48, they brought in Torah and Masechah.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my mother came to understand to the meetings that they had. And she told them, ich bin eigentlich nicht mekane.
She told who?
She told, at the meeting, at that time, they were discussing, about, breaking up the Lubavitch Yeshiva, v'chulu.
The community was discussing.
Huh?
The community.
So my mother says to them, ich bin eigentlich nicht mekane. She says, in Yiddish, she told them, you're starting with a Rebbe.
This was noch in the Zeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Yeah, from the Frierdiker Rebbe, time of the Frierdiker Rebbe. You're starting with a Rebbe, and watch yourself.
Your mother came from a Chassidish background?
No, we came from a former background. In my days, you understand, there were no, there was no distinction between, you understand, Litvische, Chassidische, and that time either you were from or not from.
Right.
So, they brought in, you understand, Torah and Masechah, and naturally, you understand, they had to have, some type of a Jewish education. So I went to Torah and Masechah until 49. And then the yeshiva didn't go to a higher level. And my mother was a bas yechida, an only daughter. My father had sisters and brothers in an alte mame. My father's mother was born in Tofresh Lamed Beis, 1872, 1873. But my mother, you understand, pushed my father that we have to leave Providence in order that my sister and my brother and myself should remain from a Yidden.
She didn't have confidence in the Torah Masorah school.
No, because the yeshiva ended at the 6th grade, and it didn't go any further.
The Torah Masorah or the...
The Torah Masorah.
What happened to the Achet Mim school?
It's
closed down.
It closed down. Mm-hmm. It closed down. Mm-hmm. And we moved to New York, and my father at that time was working for Sperry Rand in charter schools, engineering.
An engineer.
Yeah. And we lived at that time, you understand, in Kew Garden Hills.
In Queens.
Which was Hamidbar.
In Queens.
In Queens.
Right.
And my sister and brothers studied in the local yeshiva there. And I was a kid of 10, 11 years old. I studied in Yeshiva Rabbeinu Yankiv Yosef on the Lower East Side. And I used to travel every single day, a little kid with a briefcase, on the subway, you understand, and I went to Yeshiva Rabbeinu Yankiv Yosef, where I got a good foundation in learning, and I learned amongst the illustrious Rosh Yeshivas there that gave me a yesod in learning the Yazdavsasai.
So this is in the 50s?
This is in the 50s.
Well, this yeshiva, I never heard of this yeshiva before.
Oy, wait a minute.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. Yeshiva Rabbeinu Yankiv Yosef was one of the first yeshivas that started at the turn of the century in 1900. Mm-hmm. Because you have to realize, if you grew up in Orei Asodeh, and you lived outside of New York, there were no yeshivas at all in those days. So on the Lower East Side, there was Yeshivas Rabbeinu Yankiv Yosef. Then they started Yeshivas Teferes Yerushalayim, where Moshe Feinstein was the Rosh Yeshiva. The Galicianas started the Yeshiva Rab Shlomo Krieger on the Lower East Side. Those were the three yeshivas on the East Side. And in Brooklyn, The only yeshiva at that time was Yeshivas Torah Vadas.
Right.
And later on, they started Yeshivas Rabbi Chaim in Berlin. But even in those days, in the 20s and 30s, if you really wanted a higher Jewish education, you had to go, you understand, to Yeshivas Rabbeinu Yitzchak Elchanan.
Right.
They had already a regular yeshiva, Merosh Yeshivas, Versteht,
Where was that? That was in Brooklyn also?
No, it started, Yeshivas, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Elchanan started on the Lower East Side. It was called on Clinton Street. I remember the building still stands because the Polish Yeshiva was there at one time. The Communist Yeshiva. It's called Yeshivas Eitz Chaim. It was there until they moved from there, you understand, to Yeshiva University in, in the West Side.
Washington Heights.
In Washington Heights. So, many of the illustrious Rosh Yeshivas, Avigdor Miller and Harab Mordechai Gifter, Wachfegel from Cleveland, from Lakewood, all these they learned there before they went to Europe to study in yeshiva.
They learned in yeshivas Yitzchak Elchanan.
Yeah, that was the yeshiva, you understand,
that was the yeshiva.
Yeah. And later on, you understand, the yeshiva Teiladas went to the base Medrash and the same thing with Yaakov Yosef. So I learned in
So the yeshiva Yaakov Yosef replaced Yitzchak Elchanan?
No.
Separate.
No, it was a separate yeshiva.
But
they went on from, you understand, from the lower classes, they went on to Masifta, and I learned in the base Medrash.
So Yaakov Yosef wasn't quite as high as Yitzchak Elchanan, is what you're saying?
No, and later on it became, you understand,
So who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Yaakov Yosef?
The Rosh Yeshiva of Yaakov Yosef was Harab Menachem Lukavitz.
Menachem Lukavitz.
Menachem Lukavitz, ik ben met Talmudim bevokken, we gemaakt kotler.
Really?
Yes. And I learned, you understand, under Harab Shmuel
from Europe?
Yes.
When Rabbi Aaron Kotler was still in Europe?
Yes. And Harab, you understand, there was Harab Shmuel Dover Warschawschick, who was Mibechira Talmidim from Rabbi Rebbe.
So
a
brisker
from Kamenitz. And then there was Rabbi Zeidy Epstein, you understand, the Talmud of Rab Shimon Shkop.
So were these American boys who had gone to Europe?
No, these were European Rosh Yeshivas that came from Europe, you understand? Then they went in Shanghai, you understand, and they came, you understand?
So this is after Shanghai, right? This is
after
the war.
They came, you understand?
After the war.
They came, and they became the Rosh Yeshivas, and there was Abshayishim, and also was a brilliant Talmud Chacham, and he was Mebechira Talmud from Mir in Europe.
Right.
And also one of my Rebbe's, you understand, was Harav Rebbe Yitzchok Tendler, Moshe Tendler's father.
Wow.
Moshe Tendler's father lived in Radin. When he came to America, he lived in Yitzchak Elchanan in the 20s, and Gahat Smicha from the Meitzah Taral Ili. He was a Rosh Yeshiva at that time.
Homesick for Lubavitch is brought to you by Yuvla Media, a boutique video production company servicing the Chabad and Jewish community. Since opening 10 years ago, Yuvla Media has pushed the boundaries of artistic and thoughtful storytelling in the community, with an insistence on there always being a memorable story as well as a beautiful and striking visual image that we believe is second to none. Over the years, we have worked with Chabad organizations around the country, as well as large organizations like Boni Olam, Torah Masora, and Atzalathon, guided by the belief that your story is absolutely worth telling with depth and creativity. If you are looking to tell your story with a video, please reach out to us at hello@yuvlamedia.com. Again, that is hello@yuvlamedia.com. A link can be found in the show notes. And now, back to the podcast. So, what was it like for you as an American boy from Rhode Island, coming into this scene of Rosh Yeshiva from all the biggest yeshivas in Europe?
I came from a Yiddish-speaking house.
Right.
So it was nothing new to me.
No, but it was a different world, no? It was not a different world of...
No.
No.
I never looked at that as a different world. But you have to realize it also in my days.
Who are the other Talmidim?
Hmm?
Who are the other Talmidim? Also American boys that grew up
Brother is, I mean, the Talmidim there, Rabbi Kotler always told Rabbi Lubavitch, schick me Bochrim von dorten, von Yaakov Yosef.
He was already in Lakewood.
Yes.
Yes.
And Rabbi Moshe David Hillel, who's the Chabroin Rosh Yeshiva, learned, you understand, Yaakov Yosef? And they were stirring, you understand? They saw Merikagin, who's on, and some, very illustrious Talmidei Chachamim.
And these were American boys.
These were American boys.
What was there at that time like a sense of like this pre-war, post-war dynamic that we talk about today? Was there a sense of it's a new time and we're rebuilding from the ashes of the war, or was that?
I really don't think so. I mean, many of them, you understand, there were those who lived in Shanghai. There were those who came, you understand, I had a Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yamyansky, Nevinsky, and Kravitz. They were, you understand, in Russia.
Right.
And Takin Samarkand in Tashkent. That, they were Kletschka Talmidim, you understand,
so they had been with the Lubavitchers in Samarkand and Tashkent.
Yes.
But for the children, there wasn't this sense of...
I don't think there was no sense. And in fact, let me tell you, that the Menayel of the yeshiva was a Hungarische, Harav Dr. Hillel Weiss. He was the Menayel, he was, you understand, the Talmud of the Tam Sefer. He was a Hungarische Menayel, but he was a very, very, he was a Mechanach Bechesed Ho'elyon. And he was a very, very, very warm person.
That's a very interesting thing in general. It seems that in those days, when the yeshivas were more fledgling, meaning they didn't have these big institutions, and they were like you said, Rabbi Cutler was looking for talmidim. It seems like there was a certain softness.
In Yaakov Yosef, in my days, we had 1,100 students.
Oh, okay, so big yeshiva.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 1,100 students on the Lower East Side.
And 1,100 students, and the Menayel knew the last name of each and every one of them.
Wow, so it's a big yeshiva, a massive yeshiva. Wow. Okay.
I remember my sixth grade Rebbe was her Rav Tuvia Goldstein. Later on, he became, he was a mega Talmud Chochem, versteht ihr? He was Oisek and Halacha, and he started a yeshiva, Emek Halacha, you understand, in Borough Park. He became one of the most famous poskim.
But in your days, he was just a Rebbe.
He was a sixth grade Rebbe.
His name was what?
Rav Tuvia Goldstein.
Rav Tuvia Goldstein. Wow.
Yes. I'm good to Rebbe, Rebbe Rabbi Yisrael Spinner. He was an American boy who learned in Mir.
He had gone to Mir before the war.
Yes. And also Rabbi Yovan Berenstein, who was also, you understand, also a Mir Talmud American boy.
Wow.
And also there was Scheinberg, the famous Scheinberg's brother.
So at this point already, it doesn't seem like there's a stira between being an American boy and a Talmud Chacham. You already have people who have done it.
Yes.
So we're already past the turn of the century where to be a Frum Yid in America is ganz ungefragt.
Yes.
Okay.
So
it's beginning to make sense at this point to be an American boy, who kochs and learning and a Frum Yid. It's not so unusual.
No.
Okay.
And
very interesting. And where are most of these talmidim going after the yeshiva?
Wait a minute. So the yeshiva also had a very, very excellent English program. We used to learn from 2 to 6, English. And many, you understand, of the Talmidim, some of them became Rabbonim, some became doctors and psychologists, you understand, b'chula, b'chula.
Mm-hmm. So most of them were going
into
into
and the
work.
boys that came, they came from the Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
and from Borough Park, from all over.
Right.
So it was a mixture of all of us. But it's I remember them as very, very, very productive and good times, and good chaverim.
Beautiful. Yes, like you said before, in those days it was, are you a Frumid or not? There wasn't so much the...
It was no... In other words, you didn't have a brand
I understand.
on who you were.
Right. What in the yeshiva that you were in, was there any, like, you learned Musar of a certain genre? You learned any kind of chassidus, or was it just Gemara and Halacha?
Gelernt Gemara, you understand, Achenim, Poskim, you understand, versteht ihr? And, you know, so there was a Amusha Shmuyas, versteht ihr immer la Woche.
But that's it.
That's it.
So mainly Gemara, Halacha.
Gemara, Halacha, and Poskim.
Right. Right. Okay, so how do we end up, the obvious question, how does a fine Talmud of all these illustrious Rosh Yeshivos from Lita, how does he end up in Lubavitch?
Wait a minute.
I'm skipping.
In New York, where we lived, I davened, you understand, in a shul called Machsike Hadas, the Klimativ Arov,
This is back in Queens.
In Queens.
On Shabbos. On Shabbos.
On Shabbos, that's right. During the week, I davened in the Yeshiva, but on Shabbos, I was bar mitzvah, and I gesagt, people have gesagt, you understand, the Bazei. So it was like, these were survivors from the war. We had a minion, you understand, they were Polish, Chassidish, Yidden, Varon, Yidden. So that's where I got the bottom Chassidishkeit I got from the Stiebel itself.
Right.
So when my mother passed away, I went back to Providence to live, you understand, with my Zeidy and my puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And
how old were you then?
19, 20.
So you basically graduated yeshiva.
I graduated. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to go into that.
Okay.
That's kind of stuff. So I came back there. I studied also, you understand, Shas and Poskim mit Ayid was given a Goren Oilum. His name was Rabbi Chaim Brandwein Maria.
Where was this? Back in
Providence.
Oh, in Providence.
Yes, I studied with him.
What was he doing there?
Let me explain. I'll explain you who he was. Der alte Boston Rebbe had a daughter from his Zivik Rishon.
Mm-hmm.
She was married to Harav Yosef Shmuel Brandwein, who was actually a Rav in Yerushalayim in Ein Kerem. Given Agon, he was a Musmach for a Pesach Hershprank.
Sure.
You understand? He was Asret and Einikel, and he happened to be, you understand, Mamish Agon. He was also Agon to Mekubal.
Cool.
He came to Providence. I don't know really why.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you understand, to get Social Security, to go back, and say, but I learned with him a lot.
Wow.
And so I was there. And I also have a degree in accounting and finance, which I have never used. And I had worked, you understand, for the government. And I was getting sick and tired. Whenever it came Fridays and Shabbos to ask for time off, I says, forget about it altogether.
Mm.
And in Providence, there lived a Yid. His name was Rabbi Moshe Dresen. Rabbi Moshe Dresen lived in Otvorsk. He also lived in Lubavitch in Vilna. And he was a Lubavitcher Chosid. His father was also a Lubavitcher. And he has asked me, Chamshisha, komm auf a Fabringen. I should come to a Fabringen.
In 770 or in Providence?
Well, I'll tell you the. So it was your base Tammuz, Tovshinchov. I went with him and his wife to Crown Heights. His son had an apartment on Empire Boulevard. Yitzchak Floor had his store on the bottom. And I went to the Fabringen. In those days, the Fabringen were not in 770. You base Thomas, it was in a hall. So I remember coming to the Fabringen. The oisius that the Rebbe spoke with at that time, I was not very, very familiar with. But I noticed in the middle of the Fabringen that the Rebbe lifted himself up from his chair. And I became very inquisitive, so I asked, how come? So they told me, das ist ein Friedrichen Rebbens, den Rebbens Amalamed, Vilenkin. He came to the Fabringen, that's why the Rebbe got up from his seat. And I remember at the Fabringen, where Uriel Zimmer was there, you understand, the ältere Chassidim, and I remember the Rebbe saying at the Fabringen, genug Zeit zu verbringen in the Fremd. It's enough time that we have to verbringen in strange places. So at that time, you started the beginning of building the first addition to what 770, the base medrash, which is today where it is. Friday night, I davened, you understand, in 770, upstairs. But the davening to me was not inspired at all. Mit der Gedaven mit Nusach as maybe in the mitten vom Woch. They daven with a Nusach just like a daven in the middle of the week. And I remember the Rebbe, you understand, by the Tefillah, Shabbos morning, I got up very, very early. At that time, you understand, the Rebbe lived in Brooklyn, so I decided in the morning I'll go daven over there. Kailuda, you understand, more you understand, about Lebedik davening. And Shabbos, there was no Fabringen. And so Sunday morning I came, you understand, to 770. And in those days, the Rebbe used to walk from his house by himself. The Rebbe walks on the block. Alle Brocherim gehen sich voneinander. They all disappear. I go up, you understand, in a place. Rebbe get him shalom. But I didn't give any shalom. And that year, Takia, I remember on Sunday, the Rebbe went to Gan Yisrael at that time. So I came home and I wrote the Rebbe a letter in regard to Parnose And I also wrote the Rebbe an Indian in learning, which in Igris Yutes, he wrote a ha'ore on what I wrote. It's there. And the Rebbe...
What did that feel like when you got the ha'ara?
What
did it feel like when you got the ha'ara to...
let me tell you what, I'll tell you the whole
All right.
the whole letter. So the first thing the Rebbe says, as ich soll geben a % zu Tzedakah fahren Davinen, das ist a skule for Parnasse. Give a few cents before the Davening is skule.
Well, in those days, a few cents was something in those days.
No, a few cents for Tzedakah fahren Davinen.
Right, but in those days, a few cents was not nothing.
No, that this should be a school of Parnasse. Then he writes, I should begin to learn in Chitas. And the third thing he writes to me, es will geben Chabdai, as he sollte übergucken deine Tfil. And he also thanked me for the piece of Torah that I wrote. And this Moshe Deliason also dealt in Safras. So I bought him my tefillin. Got me tefillin, me'er shoyer, the whole works. In Baha'i Hava Yuvda, he opened, you understand, the Shalosh. In the Pasha of Shema, Livov V'cho has to be with two Wesen. It was a Chov and a Chov. Tefillin have to be written Kesitron.
Right.
So I had to put in a new paksha. So I'll never forget, I came home and I told my Zayda. So my Zayda told me like this, "This also wissen, das ist a Rebbe. You should know that this is a Rebbe." So one day I was walking and Ramoshe Dreisen's wife meet me in the street. And she says to me, Chaim Zusia, in Worcester, they need to have somebody to learn on Faran Elam. Zaina Balkoire, and to run the show. This was very, very far-fetched from my mind at that time. But Zayda says to me like this, that I should go, see what it is. If you like it, stay there. So I went at the end of Cheshvan. It was Shabbos Pashas Lech Lecha. I learned Chagazak Hadrashe. And I took the job. I used to give a shiur by Michal Amayr amongst other shiurim is a shiur in Yankiv. In those days, there were taka. It was Nusach Ashkenaz shul, and there were the majority was on given Litvische Yidden. To me, a Litvische Yid is a Yid was full liter. They came from Kamai and the Bonadel and Ishakla. And there was 30, 40 Balabatim would sit every night by the shiur. Yisrael Gordon came to Mincha. he sat down by the shir. After the shir, he comes over to me and he says, Chaim, maybe you'll come and you'll teach in the yeshiva. At that time, the yeshiva and the shul were not on very, very good terms. They threatened me I shouldn't take the job, but I'm a very, very independent person.
Yes, we noticed.
So I took the job. And I spent 61 years as a machanach.
Wow. There in Worcester.
In the yeshivos hachamim in Worcester, the manayil was Rabbi Chaim Zusia Fishman. Herrscher Fishman was the manayil.
So you didn't take the job out to Lubavitcher yet?
I mean, a full Lubavitcher.
I'm saying you didn't take it because you were a Lubavitcher.
I didn't take it because I was Lubavitcher.
Right. As we approach the 2-year mark of this podcast, Homesick for Lubavitch has become a household name in the Lubavitch community, with thousands of views each week on YouTube alone, as well as thousands more on the various podcast platforms. We have a devoted audience that listens regularly to the conversations and shares their thoughts with their families and communities. If you would like to sponsor an episode or advertise on one of our episodes, please reach out to Bensi at yuvlamedia.com. That's Bensi at Yuvla Media, YUVLA media.com.
I started to teach in September of 1961. And I taught, you understand, in the morning, the 5th grade. And even in Worcester, one of my Talmidas from 1961 moved from Worcester to Cleveland. She's here.
Oh, yeah.
Meine Talmidim, Shlomo Leib Abramowitz, big chazan in 770,
Right.
learned in that class at that time. Then there was Aaron Shlomo, Yenevelt, you understand, Eisner. I know all the Talmidim, you understand. And David Fisher, who lives in Eretz Yisrael, has been learning for his whole life. That was my first class.
David Fisher, the real estate guy?
No.
Another Fisher.
Sein Tate, ich bin Atelze. He
Right.
lived in Worcester. All right. So I taught them, you understand, the first year, started Bakshish Yisrei. I taught them Yisrei, Mishpatim, Trum, Tzave, Vayake, Pekude, Bacha, Bechukoise, Met Rashis, 10 Prokim Mishnayos.
What drew you to Chinuch? Why did you decide to take the job? Why? If you weren't doing it also because you're a Lubavitcher, why did you take it?
Why did I take it?
Yeah, why did you? To be a mechanech is a decision. You don't just fall into it.
Please. I had good mechanchim when I was young in the yeshiva, so I knew my job.
You saw the value in it.
Wait a minute.
Sure.
I'll explain everything to you. So, for Yeshiva HaMerkozes, they used to send Rabbi Garfinkel to come, you understand, to the yeshiva, giving bechinas to the kids. Came into my class, and he was very, very, very impressed. So later on, I found out he gave a report to the Rebbe. And he wrote that Chaim Fishman is a teacher who teaches B'emunah, and a good mechanech has to be one that can connect with the child. Number two, we have to be very, very caring to the child. And you have to know when the day ends, you have to keep your Talmidim on your cup 24/7. That's what I did during my 10-year as a Machanach. And also I was able to reach, understand, to the children. And you have to realize, in Orei HaSoda, you had frum kids, you had kids who didn't come from houses.
Right.
I never differentiated between one and the other. My tafkid was that I had to take, you understand, a kid who comes from an irreligious home, of him, that he should become frum. And Baruch Hashem, I was able to do it. And in the afternoon, I gave a Gemara Shir to a different class, an older class. And that's how I started, you understand, my teaching career. And I taught on all levels. Wherever Rabbi Fogelman, you understand, had a problem with a teacher, so he used to, you understand.
Was there any difference in the chinuch that you found in this new school compared to the chinuch that you had seen as a Talmud at the Yeshivas Yaakov Yosef? Was there a different flavor?
I used this. I never took a teaching course in my life. But I knew, you understand, how my Rebbeim related to me. And I had the Rebbeim in Yeshiva was on a given Zeidy mentioned. Somebody you could sit and you could talk to.
Right, but was there something about Rabbi Fogelman that was different?
Harav Fogelman, I mean, how could I put it? He was dedicated to the job. He was dedicated to education. And Barem is given the Kind tired of the Geld. In other words, to him, getting a Jewish child to come to Yeshiva was more important than anything else. And he really extended himself. I mean, if you couldn't pay tuition, he was on the go all the time, out collecting and making sure, you understand, that the yeshiva had money to pay their payroll, v'cholo, v'cholo. And I also became very, very friendly, you understand, with Rabbi Gordon. And going to more Farbringens, you understand, versteht ihr? So, Anossi has, you understand, the qualities of a Rebbe is of him mind. And I went, you understand, to the Farbringens, so you learn a little bit more, you get a little bit more inclined of what's going on and understanding and starting to learn Chassidus, v'cholo, v'cholo.
Who did you learn Chassidus with at the time? Who did you learn Chassidus with at the time? Who taught you Chassidus? Or you just learned it on your own?
I learned it on my own.
On your own. So you said earlier that when you came to 770 the first time, you found the Kabbalah Shabbos not so inspiring. Did that change?
I even wrote to the Rebbe.
Oh, yeah?
Into that. I said, I forgot, I have the letter around, understand, what he answered me, understand that. But then...
What did you write?
I I have the letter someplace here.
Well, you said you were about to say what you wrote about.
I wrote about how the davening is, you understand, on versteht ihr. It's
Missing spice.
without these pilots. But then, as you know today, now Lubavitch has a nusach, man singt, you understand, well, the Chodeli, they never sing the Chodeli in Lubavitch.
Right.
Later on, you understand, Rabbi Lgani, the Rebbe Lgani was a teacher in Yeshiva when I was there. And he was a chazan also. He was the one that really introduced, you understand, the singing of Prostate in Lubavitch. And now they have a whole nusach.
But when you came back, as you're already learning Chassidus and you're teaching in the Lubavitch school, before they start bringing in the songs, do you appreciate now 770, or you're still going to the Belzer Stiebel for Varam?
No. From the last almost 65 years. I even also understand that today they tell me you have to go buy a pair of tefillin. I don't know what they charge. I mean, I bought by Shayamata $85.
Oh, yeah?
And I still have the pictures, and they're still good.
$85 for a pair of tefillin.
That's right.
Alter Rebbe's or Arizal?
No, nicht going kein Alter Rebbe's gesagt. Arizal. I mean,
$85.
Wait a minute. I bought you this. All my Yinuch became bar mitzvah. I also bought him 2 pairs of tefillin. So Moshe was, because when he became a bar mitzvah, it was going to cost $500 a stick, $500 a piece.
Right.
When Zaki became bar mitzvah and Ari, it cost me $650 a piece. When Shmuley and my Levi, Alter Rebbe's Ksav, Moshe was living then in Spas, of $850. I bought them then. Rabbi Tom's and Rashis. So they've gone up in price.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit. Oh, a little bit. Oy veyes mir.
So talk a little bit about that, because you're talking about the Witkes boys, and they don't share a last name with you, but you call them your Einiklach. Tell that story a little bit, because it has to do with the dedication that you described as a mechanech, I think.
Well, let me explain. The whole Witkes family, having a shaykhs for Lubavitch, is the following story. It was the night before school began. Rabbi Fogelman and Yisrael Gordon went to Maris and Hilda Witkes. They should register their children to come to the yeshiva. And that's how they came to the yeshiva. And as I told you beforehand, I encouraged Richie, and that time he was in my class, that program used to give a shiach in Chumash and Rashi before davening, you should go. The rest is history. So, being the mechanech that I was, I took a very, 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 very interest in all of my talmidim. So, in one of my classes, I had a Talmud. His name was Yosef Dave Bear Shaw. He was about 11 and a half and 12. He comes over to me and he says to me, I want a lane by my bar mitzvah. I said to him, Yossi, you want to buy a mitzvah? You have to come every single Shabbos to shul. From shul, you come to my house. Pursue the Shabbos for lunch, and I'll teach you the bar mitzvah. And bekach have him. came, you understand, to my house. To tell you a little about this Yossel, he lost his mother when he was 2 years old. He was originally from Providence, Rhode Island. And his father was a Holocaust survivor. It was he has a sister also. It was quite difficult for him, to bring up the children. So his mother had a sister, an older sister, who lived in Worcester. Sonia and Joe Nathanson took in this Yossel and his sister. And when he got older, he had an uncle, Jack Pearl, who said, bring him to the yeshiva. And that's how the kid came to the yeshiva. So he started to come, you understand, to eat in my house every single Shabbos, lunch. And then...
Were you married at the time?
Sure.
You're married already.
I got married in 1962.
Before Worcester?
No.
During Worcester?
During Worcester. I'll get back to that later.
No, it's okay.
So, from the Friday nights, Friday at Shabbos afternoon, his aunt and uncle, you understand, kept kosher, but they were not frum.
Right.
So Friday nights he started to eat in my house also.
Geworden ben Bayes.
Yeah, and I go on ben Bayes by me in Stub. And then he used to sleep at my house also, let's say Friday nights and Shabbos. And when he was about 14 or 15 years old, he became very, very friendly with Yecheska Witkis, Gary Witkis. So on Shabbos, he wanted to hang out with him. He didn't come to shul at that time, Yecheska, Gary. But he used to come to my house to hang out with him on Shabbos in my house. So naturally, you understand, he used to come, you understand, first day to Shabbos, first day to B'cholo. And as time went on, he also started to come to shul. And you understand, staying over Shabbos in my house, or Friday nights in my house. And I took care of them like a father takes care of children.
Beautiful. If you're looking for an event that is memorable, meaningful, and affordable, let me recommend This World is a Garden, a film and live concert production created by us here at Yuvla Media, inspired by Bosi Lgani, the first mimer, the Rebbe said. If you're a regular here at HFL, you know that Bosi Lgani is something that we think about and talk about a lot. And in this production, we use the power of cinematic filmmaking and a live concert by a string quartet to bring the beauty of Bosi Lgani to your community and your audience in a way that they've never seen, heard, or experienced it before. The production has already been hosted by Chabad houses around the country and has drawn wonderful reviews. Our package comes with everything that you need to put in the production: the film's original arrangements for string quartet, publicity materials, everything besides the string quartet, which we recommend that you hire locally to save on travel costs. To find out more about this production, please visit thisworldisagarden.com. Again, thisworldisagarden.com. And now, back to the show.
Well, he was already 17 at that time.
Who?
Gary Witkis.
Gary Witkis.
But, you understand, and then I took care of them, you understand.
And Richie was already tagging along?
Richie is from Ben Hashet in New York.
Oh, he was older.
He was older than him. But actually, that's not this is something. It's not. And he didn't experience Gary any Shabbos like a Yom Tov before. And then, I became involved with him very, very, very much so. And I took care of them begashmias and beruchnias. When they got married also, very involved.
Their parents didn't mind?
No. Sonia, you understand, she always thanked me, you understand, for stating, I mean,
Right.
and Gary's father wasn't living either.
Mm-hmm.
Died when he was 7 years old.
Oh, I see.
And I was involved, you understand, with him. I Baruch Hashem. And that's how, you understand, for stating,
Wow.
I mean.
And today his kids are your eneklach.
I mean, I took care of them.
Mm.
Was him with Absalom. The Kashmirs.
That's how you understood the job of a mechanech.
And Baruch Hashem.
Was that also mechanech? Was it also shliach? Was it also yid?
No.
How did you see it?
It was. Not having children is a void in a person's life. My wife saw this by me as Zivik Sheni. And
What's that?
So, but you understand, they were in my life before the two boys. So it was a lot easier for me, you understand, even though that had bothered me, you understand. But not so much emotionally as it took on my wife.
That you didn't have children together.
And also I was involved, you understand, with other mishpachas, the Abramowitz family.
Mm-hmm.
Their father was also a very, very good friend of mine, Rab Shmuel. Passed away in 1965. I also became very involved with the mishpacha.
How did people in those days see the thing of the problem of infertility? Was it something that people discussed? Was it?
It wasn't something I don't think that people discussed. But, it didn't happen.
Right. People didn't think they understood it. It was just a fact of life.
And I mean, and when you lose them,
Right.
it's whatever. But I'll tell you something very interesting.
How old were they?
Huh?
How old were they?
I was in my 40s.
Now, how old were the children that you lost?
What? No, that's not the threat.
Okay.
When my wife lost it first, the late in the pregnancies, I had called Yom Klein. The Rebbe got on the phone.
Really?
That's why. The Rebbe got on the phone. He soll übergeben mir everything, you understand, that went through at that time. So that's just part of it.
The Rebbe spoke to you, or he was just listening?
Huh?
The Rebbe spoke to you?
The Rebbe got on the phone, and he told me, I'm Klein. I was there.
I heard his voice, yes.
Wir sollen mit dir sein. Alle Inzidenzen, you understand?
All the pratim.
All the pratim.
Well, what did that mean to you?
What did it mean to me? That a Rebbe is a person who's concerned about another individual. That was not only the first time. In 1971, my sister, so sie sein gesund, was in Worcester. She became very sick. They wanted to operate on her in Worcester, Massachusetts. And my sister says, I want to go to Mass General in Boston.
Sure.
Here I'm in a dilemma, what to do. I called up, you understand, the Maskiris. And I told Benjamin Klein. The Rebbe got on the phone again. And the Rebbe says, mit auf Tom was the Schwester heißt. So I took my sister, you understand, and I put her in an ambulance, and we brought her, you understand.
So the Rebbe spoke directly to you on the phone?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
I mean, as the organization became, you understand, greater and bigger, in the earlier days, there was a more personal, you understand, relationship between you and the Rebbe himself.
That's what I wanted to ask you. You would go to yeshivos often. You would speak to the Rebbe.
Yeah, wait. So I remember it was on a Friday afternoon. The Rebbe gave out a kuntres. And I was in line because I had to get back to Worcester.
Right.
And Osher Kazanovsky at that time was coming out of the hospital. So I came to the Rebbe. Labor Groner wants to introduce me to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, he's Dr. Zusia Fishman. So
When was this?
this was, I think Osher passed away in 89. This might have been in 87.
So the later years already.
The later years already.
And Labor Groner is introducing this as so-and-so from Worcester, Massachusetts.
No! He wanted to introduce me, wer ich bin.
He didn't even start
He
introducing.
didn't start off, that's Fishman. To make me feel good. After so many years, the Rebbe still knows that I'm around.
Amazing
So-
story.
So,
Das ist Fishman.
the first yeshivos I had with the Rebbe was Yudala Menachemov, Tov Shinchov Beis. When I got married, you understand, to the Civic Christian, my first wife. My first wife was a Lamdonis, Chinuch.
She came from Lubavitcher home.
No,
No.
no. She didn't. So, I remember going into yeshivos, and the truth is I didn't know the whole protocol. Es hat nicht gemacht,
You sat down.
yeah.
But you and your wife.
Yeah, and my former wife. Yeah, we said before, Chosin and Kala.
Right.
So what actually made the greatest impression on me was the Rebbe asked every specific Begin Chasana. My wife's mother was a cripple. So the Rebbe, how was she coming to the Chasana? Who was going to take her home? All the intricate parts of the Chasana he wanted to know.
Huh.
Just like a father would like to know, you understand, what's going on with the wedding of his child. And that made on me a very, very, very big impression.
Was your father still alive at the point?
Who?
Your father was.
My father's, my Chassan nicht gekommen. That's an anderer Meister in ganz.
So you were alone.
I went in alone.
I'm saying, but you were alone in the world also. Your mother had passed away.
My mother passed away. My Zeidy and the Baba, they did.
Right.
So
but I'm saying maybe the Rebbe felt that he was.
the Rebbe felt.
Yeah.
My former wife was also very close to Rabbi Soloveitchik in Boston. She had a 4-year scholarship to Stearns. So it was a question by her to go to Stearns or not to go, you understand, to Beis Yaakov. Rabbi Soloveitchik wanted her to go to Stern.
Weren't you in Worcester? You weren't in Worcester yet?
I was in Worcester, but my wife wasn't in Worcester. She lived in Boston.
So she wanted you to move to New York with her?
No. This was by the Yeshivos Bam Rebbe.
Right. Stearns is in New York.
But this was before.
Right.
So.
But if she goes to Stearns, you're going to have to move to New York.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
It was either to go to Stearns or to go to Beis Yaakov.
In New York?
In New York.
Right.
Soloveitchik was pushing her to go into the Stearns. So she had a close relationship with the Rebbe. And the Rebbe told her not to go. And my wife went to Beis Yaakov.
Oh, this is before you got engaged?
That's before I got engaged.
I see. Not the Yechidus.
No. And
I see.
She didn't like Beis Yaakov because she felt she was on a higher madriga than what they turned her over there.
She was more academic.
I mean, she was on a higher madriga academically more than in Beis Yaakov.
Yes.
So when we left Yechidus, as we're going out, so the Rebbe says to her, "I guess you should give Magos Rabbi Soloveitchik. Don't forget to give, understand, regards to Rabbi Soloveitchik." So that was the first Yechidus Bam Rebbe. Then it was customary to go into Yechidus before Yom HaLedus.
All right.
One year, it happened that I went to Yechidus Bam Rebbe. It was before Purim. After the Yechidus, the Rebbe asked me, "Wie wollen die Talmidim von Yeshiva mekayim seine Mitzvahs von Shloach Monos und Matonis Le'avyinim?" So I told the Rebbe that the girls would give Shalach Monos, orange, a can of soda, candy, a girl to another girl through a shliach. The same things happen with the boys. Then the Rebbe says, "Aber was ist mit Matonis Le'avyinim?" And the Rebbe says, "In der heutige Zeit ist sehr schwer zu finden another man. It's very hard to find a per person So I said to the Rebbe meant, Misha ein lo Mosayim Zuz Nikra Oni. So the Rebbe smiled. And it came out at the end that the kids should give, you understand, to two different pushkes. Matanos Levienim. But what amazed me more than anything else, hier is a Rebbe, hat die ganze Welt auf sich. What is he thinking about? How a Jewish kid in Worcester learning in Yeshiva, how are they going to be able to be Mekayim the mitzvahs of Shalach Monas and Matanos Le'avinim? Because that's what a Rebbe is. Caring. Very, 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 very important. Then...
So you felt there was a different quality of caring by the Rebbe than you had seen by your previous mechanchim. What was the difference? Because you described beautifully before how much your earlier mechanchim also cared.
Nah.
What's the difference?
Oh. The Rebbe really got me understand mit sein Geoines. Coming to our Chof of verbringen in the middle of the week. How the Rebbe took Asim HaMesichte.
Yeah.
End of Mesichte. To elaborate on an end of a Masechta, sometimes it's a Shikal Agadate, and to give a Fabringen on that Shikal Agadate for 4 or 5, 6 hours. Azah Hashkofe, Azah Makif and Leilin, I never saw in my whole life. And here the Rebbe sits and speaks for hours. No notes, no nothing. As gate Kemayim Amazgabe. And this really took me, understand, Modidik. Because I never saw anything like it before. Ich habe gehört, you understand. Rabbi Kotler gehört, von allem. I never saw such a heck of a learning, you understand, like I saw from the Rebbe. L'mayla. So that's what really got me to understand. And then, how I also saw how when Inyanim affected Klal Yisrael in general, how the Rebbe came out as a Manik Yisrael. That's something which is missing today. There is no leader. The Rebbe is given Yispashtusha de Moshe B'Dereinu. It was the Moshe Rabbeinu of our day. A Manik Yisrael. And I was at the Fabringen when Rabbi Yeshivos Lubavitch was at the Fabringen. And coming back, and he said, I knew, you understand, the Rebbe in Berlin, he was a Talmud Chacham. Heint is a Ramanigis and a Nosich Yisrael. That's what also, you understand, made a very, very, very... And then, especially those summer Fabringens, never had a chance to go to New York when the Rebbe started every Shabbos Fabringen. I mean, to sit on a summer afternoon from 1:30 sometimes to Mincha time and hear the Rebbe, you understand, of Pichayovis and my Kein Chassidus, v'chulu. How come that doesn't affect a person?
So was it the learning or was it the caring that most
No,
chapped
I
you?
saw the Rebbe as a manik. Not only interested in the yeshiva and the shiurim and the talalama shel halacha. I saw how the Rebbe, you understand, was a caring of a Jew from Rosh Shiftechem. That's what a real leader is.
So that's what pulled you in.
That's your
The geoinus, but also the caring.
Yeah.
The combination.
the oilers in Caleb.
The combination.
The combination of both.
Wow.
So then I had a yeshivos with the Rebbe. This goes maybe about 55 years ago, maybe more. I had a business proposition.
While you were a teacher.
Well, I was shooting for Moshe Kazanovsky. He lived in Worcester. To go with him a business in manufacturing sweaters. Being a teacher, you know, you get paid, you don't get paid.
Yes.
So I remember coming into the Rebbe, presenting him, you understand, with this business proposition. The Rebbe smiles, and he says, "Das ist punktem Heppech, was du schreibst mir jeden Chodesh." I used to write the Rebbe Aduch every single month. Was the Kinder learning, where they're holding and learning, and b'chulu b'chulu.
Why did you write the duch? What motivated you?
I wanted the Rebbe to know what my kids are learning.
The Rebbe answered to these duchim, or
Huh?
the Rebbe answered to these duchs?
I don't know if he answered, but I know that he got them.
That he read them, yes.
So right away I knew that my tafkid bo'ilom was out of business. And taka, I remained in Chinuch. And it's a very, 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 very gratifying position in order to be able to give over a rayin to a Talmud.
Right.
To be connected with the Talmud. And I have Talmidim, was on Rosh Yeshivas, even Abba Talmud is a Rosh Yeshiva and a Litvish Yeshiva,
Mamish.
and Taki Chassidish Balabatim. I have Talmidus. I also taught the Beis Chana over 35 years. That I'm a Chan Choyz, you understand, Heinz Anders, Babas, you understand, from my Talmidus. And I think I left a very, very positive effect on all of them.
Wow. It's very interesting that when the Rebbe answered you about leaving Chinuch, possibly leaving Chinuch, he didn't tell you no. He just, he showed you that, he said it a different way. It's interesting. He could have told you no.
But, to admit to you, ich habe gehabt gute Jahren, where I made money too.
On the side.
But maybe I was at one time very heavily in the stock market.
I see.
Ich habe gehabt gute Jahren, but the money that I had, I used to understand for gute Sachen. Only.
So you look back with a lot of sipuk and pride at the years in Chinuch.
Yes.
After 60 years.
61.
61
yes.
years.
Yes. Very gratifying. I'm still very close, you understand?
No regrets.
I have one Talmud, Levi Yitzchak Abramowitz, for the past maybe 55 years, every single Messiah Shabbos Kodesh she calls me.
Beautiful.
And I have Talmudim from way back that I'm very, very close to this day. And I'm Rishivitskis.
Right.
My Talmud.
You moved to Cleveland to be with them, yes?
No, to Gary.
Gary.
Richie, I'm somebody. Right. Richie. I was on the phone of the Chassan in London when he got married. I took the boys to London. His kid Moshe Moitkis got bar mitzvah. I went to the bar mitzvah in London.
Moshe lives in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah.
No, this is Richie's son, Richie's Moshe.
Oh, Richie's Moshe.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting in my house one day. He calls me on the phone. Dr. Rabbi Fishman, my Moshe is getting married in Sydney, Australia. Keine kommt bis auf der Chasene. If I would come. No. I told him, Shal, bitte bist du? I got to ask my wife. My wife couldn't come at that time because she was teaching. My wife taught physics and chemistry in public school, in high school. So then he calls me up. So to Rabbi Fishman, there's a sale. It's $850 a round trip. So I took Gary's son, Zaki, who was learning at Morristown at that time. Very, 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 very hard to convince Harav Lishansky to let him off for the 10 days, but he did. And I went to Sydney, Australia, of the Chasana.
With Zaki.
With Zaki to Richie's son's Chasana. So it shows you what kind of a connection
Yeah.
ich habe mit den Talmidim. And that's how I spent, you understand, my time with him.
Beautiful. Wow. You mentioned earlier that there was a time where there was a very personal relationship with the Rebbe, and then it changed. You mentioned the story later on with Label Groner. How did you see that?
I have letters from the Rebbe.
But how did you see that affect Lubavitch, is my question.
See, the Yeshivos stopped in the Lametz.
Right.
No. But then, in Tovshim Mem Beis, the Rebbe started giving out dollars every single Sunday. I once had a big envelope full of them with a dilang. And also, you understand, you had a chance to speak with the Rebbe very, very, briefly, if you wanted to speak to him about something. So that gave also, you understand, more of a relationship, even in the later years. I remember on a Sunday, it was after camp, and I happened to come with the mechanchos, you understand, from the camp,
Which camp?
We had a Gan Yisrael camp.
In Worcester.
In Worcester, they came. So the counselors came with me, and I brought them to the Rebbe Sunday. The Rebbe gives me $1. Sagt, das ist noch $1 for commission. For commission.
What would you say the Rebbe taught you? Did the Rebbe teach you something?
Of course, the Rebbe taught me how to learn Rashi V'Yazaf. And the Rebbe taught me to understand how a Jew is supposed to be a chosid.
What do you mean?
What does it mean? A chosid is an individual who goes the extra mile. Not only in Torah and mitzvahs, but in regard to a fellow Jew. Caring about another Jew, very, very important. And to learn, mamish, the Torahs from the Rebbe. I don't only learn the Torahs from the Rebbe, I learn from the Mitzvah Rebbe. I'm a big fan of Torahs Chaim.
Oh, the Mitzvah Rebbe.
Oh, yeah.
That's your jam.
I I enjoy it a lot.
You like harchava?
Yeah, I like the hachova. But, learning is also something very important that makes you understand for certain achosis, and I'm I consider myself a very simple Jew. Pump. I never look for any cover in my life. I don't need it. I don't want it.
You don't want it?
No.
What do you want?
I daven in the shul Anshe Lubavitch. Junge Leute.
Here in Cleveland?
Here in Cleveland. They give me such chayas. And amongst them I become very, very, very close to some of them. And I see, here are people was aus dem Leben came und nicht gesehen im Rebbe. They never saw the Rebbe at all.
Right.
And they're emes chashidish Yidden. We learn the siches.
How do you explain that?
How do I explain that? Tzadik dies pater min oilom becomes yatem b'chayeyem, and I see it. I see it, you understand, the devotion and the hiskashers, which amazes me. If somebody comes to me and says to me, I hope I live to see Mashiach, but if somebody ever came over to me, did you experience Mashiach? I'll tell him 100% I did. Ich habe gesehen Mashiach von meinen Augen. Ich habe gesehen, versteht wie die Schchine mit der Beres mit dich grünisch am Mashiach. I saw it with my own eyes. Ich habe gelebt in Mashiach Zeiten. Those people might disagree with me, but that's how I look at it. I haven't been in the oil for a long time. Basically, I'm not mobile these days, and I have to go to New York because with a wheelchair, with the walkers, with Alice. But when I used to go to the oil before I left, I would say, Rebbe, du hast uns gesagt, loyal to the Chulal to the Yuvla. Rebbe, you told us we're the last generation of Golas. We're the first generation of Gula. It's about time both of you delivered. Delivered. I hope you understand, Efsha. Maybe now, it looks like Mashiach Zeiten, but it should be Mikoyach Alapoyo.
Amen. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you very, very much.
I can go,
you can go on if you'd like.
I would like. I maybe a few more interesting things.
Of course.
I can go to.
Okay, let's go.
So I lived in Worcester, Massachusetts. In Worcester, Massachusetts, on a given years back, there were two Nusachari shuls. One was called Nusach Agudas Achim B'nai Yankiv. And Agudas Achim B'nai Yankiv, the majority of the Eden came from Mogaliv, from Lubavitch and Orsha, and Dubrovne, Rogachov, Chernigov, Nyezhin, and Eden was angekommen from Haditz. The majority of the Eden came from Smulyan. Yudel Krinsky, Zeidy, and Bubba lived on a farm in Auburn, Massachusetts.
Right.
And the Rebbe given had Rabbi Zora Horowitz, who was, you understand, he lived in Smolyan, and they brought him to Smolyan that he should become the Rav in that shul. And that shul there was a Jew, his name was Nachum Leib Meiten. Nachum Leib Meiten's father was a Ramesh ben Yomen the Malamed from the Friedrich Rebbe. He taught the Rebbe Loshen, he taught the Rebbe Ksive, he also, the Rebbe Nishmos Eden hired him to listen to the Friedrich Rebbe Mishnayos Balpeh. So Rabbi Nachum Leib told me, ich habe euch gechazet Mishnayos Balpeh zusammen, and he called the Friedrich Rebbe with his name. He says, what was the difference between me and the Friedrich Rebbe? He said, the Friedrich Rebbe knew Shishish Mishrim and Pshat, and I didn't. And he told me that he used to transcribe the Mamorim from the Rebbe Nishmos Eden. In Tofresh Ayin, he decided to come to America. So he went into the Rebbe Nishmos Eden, Betten Abroche, of America. And the Rebbe Nishmos Eden asked him, Wohin fort ihr? Where are you going? Sagte er, in Worcester. And the Rebbe Nishmos Eden told him, Worcester is a Yiddische Stadt. Also, his father, Ramoshe ben Yomen ben Malamed, lived in Worcester for a time, and then he went to New York. There's a whole in between him and the Friedrich Rebbe. He lived in New York. When the Rebbe, Friedrich Rebbe came in Top Reish, Tzadik, Peites.
The first time.
The first time. So Ramoshe ben Yomen lived in New York at that time. So he came to see the Friedrich Rebbe. So he told Simpson, please don't tell the Friedrich Rebbe who I am. He says that as soon as he walked into the Friedrich Rebbe, Oi! Moshe ben Yomen the Malamed. So that was that shul. There was another Nusachari shul, where there were Litvische, Furakishik, and Ponadel, Kamai, the Daven Nusachari. Amongst them were Yidden was angewen Lubavitcher. There were Koppeste.
Oh yeah, in Worcester.
And Menderuch told me, understand, als Inge, der Tat hat mich geschleppt in Ladi zum Rebbe, zu der Ladia. So there was a mishpocha that happened.
They got along, the Lubavitchers and the Kapuster in Worcester?
At that time, you understand, later on. Yeah. In fact, Menderuch, I lived with him when I was single, told me, you understand, that on Shabbos, there was a Repril Doi Bear, Share was a Sheikhet. He used to put his hand underneath his chin like this, and Chazer and Chassidus, you understand, every single Shabbos. There was a mishpocha there.
Which Chassidus? Lubavitch or Kapus?
Whatever he Chassidus, Chassidus, no, whatever word it was.
Right.
Chassidus Chabad. Right. There was a mishpocha there, whose name was Yaveh. So one day I'm sitting in my house, and this Devaya Yafa calls me on the phone. She says, Chaim, one of my friends passed away. If I could take her to the Levaya. It was on a Hope Cemetery, an old cemetery in Worcester. Not a huge cemetery, but, you know, the first Yidden that came here bought, you know, lots of land. So I brought her home. She says, Chaim, maybe you'll come to my house for a cup of tea. And I noticed on the bureau, there were ksovim and 2 svarim. I took a look. There was a Shad HaYichud, original from the Mitzvah Rebbe.
Wow.
And a Tanya from Tov Reish Lamed Dalet. So I said to her, can I take a look at him? She said, take him, Chaim. Then there was a whole bunch of ksovim. So I says, can I look at him? She says, Chaim, take him. I went through the letters. I found a letter that the Rebbe Nishmos Eden sent to her father in Worcester, Tov Reish Ayin Gimel, 1913. To me, I gave the Rebbe the Shah HaYichud as a matone. And to me, it was to bring this letter to the Rebbe.
The letter from the Rebbe Nishmas Eden.
Yeah. So I had yeshivos, you understand? I used to go in before the Shchidah Nissen for my birthday. I brought the Rebbe the letter. The Rebbe explains to me the whole teichen from the brief about the letter. At that time, there was a whole machlokes who should be the head of Kol Chabad. There was Rav Shmer Noach Schneerson, who the Rebbe Marash made him for a Rav in Babroisk, but after the Kopester was nostalgic, he became also a Rebbe. He had, a yeshiva in Babroisk. Harav Zeben not gelernt bei him in yeshiva. And there were other Lubavitcher Rabbanim that learned in yeshiva by him also. So the Rebbe explained to me, at that time there was a machlokes between Rab Shmer Noach, the Babroiske, and the Rebbe Nishmas Eden, who should be the head of Kol Chabad. And the letter that the Rebbe Nishmas Eden sent to Rab Zalman Doiv Yaffe in Worcester about monies of Esroyim, where they should go to the in Kol Chabad. So the Rebbe explained to me the whole letter. The Rebbe thanked me 3 times for the letter, and he says, Ef shehot jene Frau noch brieven, wird sie wissen, as I want to get the Lashon right. Sie wir wissen, dass der Brief wird ankommen zu mir, wird sein sehr, sehr fein. If she has other letters, at the brief ankommen zu mir, wird sein sehr gut.
When you're remembering the Lashon just now, are you remembering the whole yeshivos?
Yeah, the whole yeshivos.
You're remembering the image, the scene?
The scene.
What does the scene look like to you?
The scene, the Rebbe in the center. And
no, explain it. I wasn't there.
Explain how the Rebbe took the letter, read it, and explained to me the teichen of Yom.
Describe the room, the way it's in your eyes.
The room. The Rebbe's room was not very Masulidic, except in front of the desk. I remember once going to Yechidus. After Yechidus, I looked around. So the Rebbe told me, es liegt dort 2,5 Jahre Arbeit.
You saw piles of letters.
Letters in my, yeah.
And the Rebbe told you there's 2.5 years of work here.
Yeah.
That in order to get through it.
Yeah. So that was, the atmosphere at that time that als jene Freude wissen, dass die Briefe werden ankommen, zu viel wird sie sein zufrieden. That was the Lashon.
What was the feeling that you had when you walked into Yechidus? Was it fear, apprehension? Was it simcha? Was it warmth?
The warmth.
It was warm.
The warmth, you understand?
Even though at this point you're standing, you're not sitting down.
Yeah.
But you feel it's warm. You feel it's warm.
Then I remember going to yeshivos on my Yom letters. After the yeshivos, I said to the Rebbe, "Ich habe a kashe auf a meise." So the Rebbe says, "No." So I had told him that Rabbi Khan had given out Shmus V'Sipurim.
Right.
In the Shmus V'Sipurim, and the first stories, there's a story how the Baal Shem Tov was going, you understand, with his son-in-law, Rabbi Chiel Ashkenazi, the Deutschel, and er ist betrunken geworden. He drowned. And the whole story is how the Baal Shem Tov sent, you understand, a shliach, you understand, to the city, and that he should be buried, but nobody should be megala, you understand, where his cave is. That was the whole story. The whole story was then written afterwards. So I said to the Rebbe, in Beis Rebbe, there's an episode, it was on Purim, that the Maggid sent the Alter Rebbe to Rebbe Chiel Ashkenazi, and Purim and the Alter Rebbe went. He told them a Torah on Yavil Levush Malchus, and of them, the Alter Rebbe built his Maimah in Torah Oyer. I will. How could it be? If he died, you understand, B'chayev of the Baal Shem Tov, how could he be alive in the time, you understand, of the Maggid? So the Rebbe says to me, Efshi is those ke'ein, the Zion Torahs for the Baal Shem Tov. You know what that is?
No.
If you look into Hayom Yom, Achayel, there's a whole episode how the Rebbe Rashab heard 7 Torahs from the Baal Shem Tov himself. And B'hoya Kisova Yelo Oretz. So the Rebbe says, maybe this is Ke'ein, the Sheva Torahs, like the Rebbe Nishma Seidin heard from the Baal Shem Tov. The whole story. I gotta be truthful, I didn't buy it. And we went back and forth. Till the end of the story was, Efshe Yena Maise, V'Rafol Khan, Nish Kein Emes Maise. The story doesn't end there. When I left, the Rebbe says to me like this, Soll's wissen, der Rebbe nicht muss Eden hat oft gehabt als Gast. You know that the Rebbe nicht muss Eden many times had guests, was angekommen
from heaven.
Von Oile Mikshut. Many years went by. They finally published the Friedrich Rebbe Siches from Tofrei Tzadik to Tzadik Tes. Looking through the Siches, in Tofrei Tzadik Vov and Chai Elul, the Friedrich Rebbe writes how these 7 Torahs of the Baal Shem Tov that the Rebbe Nishmos Eden heard, how it came about. And he writes as follows. Ede es ist nitzatzim geworden der Maimer beim Rebbe Nishmos Eden, before the Rebbe Nishmos Eden became one with the Maimer, he would always go to the oil of the Rebbe Marash to get the okay to say the Maimah. It happened once, beim Remnisch Moseiden ist nicht Atzen geworden, der Maimah. And he went to the Rebbe Marash, you understand, to ask for the okay. Did he get the okay? And then, beim Rebnisch Moseiden ist Nisatzim geworden, der Maimah. So the Friedige Rebbe writes like this. Beämischen hat gekannt ob von der ganzen Sache bei sich in Stub. But he went again to the oil of the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe Marash gives him the okay to say the Maimah. After that, the Rebbe Marash comes to the Rebbe Nishmoseiden, and he says to him, since you made that extra effort to come to ask me to say over the Maimah, jetzt, komm, lass mir jetzt gehen an Gan Eden, hören die Teures von der Baal Shem Tov. And that's how the Rabbi Nishmoseiden heard the 7 Teures from the Baal Shem Tov. That's how it came to be. So I learned how these, you understand, these Teures became into being. But then I was learning the Maimorim from the Friedrich Rebbe in Tofresh Pedalid. I open up the back. By your Tislev, I bring in. The Friedrich Rebbe says like this. Es sind da 3 Sachen, was ein Litvak kennt tun. What were the 3 things? Number 1, when it was on Purim, and the Mizritsche Maggid sent the Alter Rebbe in Purim to go, you understand, to whom? To Rabbi Chaim Ashkenazi. Leaving, you understand, he could have said no, not to go because Purim Bamrem. But yet he went, you understand. The other thing was that Al Litvak Kenton, every single Shabbos before Suda Shabbos, they would put out plates of fish for all the Talmidim.
By Litvak, you mean the Alter Rebbe?
But Father Maggid. So
but the word Litvak here is referring to the Alter Rebbe.
That Litvak to the Alter Rebbe.
Yeah.
So the Alter Rebbe once went on a Friday afternoon, and I got the fish from the Maggid and get. That's the second thing that a Litvak could do. The third thing that a Litvak could do is like this. The Talmidim of the Maggid, each Talmud had a time to stand by the door of the Maggid, you understand, room. And the Rebbe would let anybody go in, even though it might have been a restricted time. So then I became clear that he was there in a neshama and a guf, the Rabbi Chaim Ashkenazi. So that's some of the interesting yeshivos that I had.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and thank you for sharing.
It's been a lot of fun for me, and the only message that I could give is
You've given a lot of messages already.
That it should become Kate Samlachoshech, and we should be Zeidy. Number one, Et Semach David Avdech Omeras Hasmiach, Bias Mashiach. Then, Mikabes Nitche, Shibas Goliath, we should all go to, and we should be Zeidy to the base, Hamikdash Hashlishi, Bimhera B'Yomenu. Now, thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Fishman. Thank you very much. The music for this podcast comes from the album Repentance Doors by Oren Sor Nadav Vachar and is used with their permission.